Okay, now it's showing that we're recording. Welcome, everyone. Let's give it about 1 or 2 more minutes. I know sometimes when you try to sign on to a Zoom call, things don't always work the first time. So let's give it to maybe 7:02 or 7:03, and then we'll jump right in and get started. I see someone on the call who has their device registered as owner. If somebody wants to tell me, you could even just send me a text to let me know that you're here. So like I said, I want to keep track of those of you who said you were going to be able to join, so that I can send out the link tomorrow to those who may not be able to.
Hey, Polly Gathings is here.
Oh, nice. I'm so glad you're here, Polly. Cool. Let's give it just 1 more minute, friends, and then we'll start. Dee's iPhone, is that you, Deidre? Deidre Walker, is that you, honey?
It's Adrian.
Yes, I'm on here. I'm not sure what it says though.
Okay, Deidre's here and Adrian's here. Adrian Waymer?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna mute you just so that we don't get distracted by background noise. And then of course, feel free to unmute yourself at any moment when you want to make a comment or ask a question or what have you, because we want to hear from everybody. So as you saw, those of you who maybe had a chance to see the agenda that I sent around, since we're doing a joint community action meeting this month, it didn't seem to make sense to me to do the same thing 3 times over Zoom with 3 different communities. So at this point, we're just gonna compile the meeting into one until we're back to meeting in person. So what I thought we would do is just have each person go around and say your first and last name. If it's not already showing on the screen, tell us where you live. And then I want you to think of one thing, one positive thing that you're hoping will come out of the pandemic, especially as it relates to children and families, a positive change that you're hoping to see when we get through to the other side of this. So if somebody already knows and wants to jump in while other people get a second to think, if you have a hard time unmuting yourself, just raise your hand and I can unmute you as well.
Deborah, I'm ready.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Crystal Campbell. I am the Executive Director for Dorchester County First Steps. And what I'd like to see happen after or even now during this pandemic is for child care providers to be paid a living wage, if not more, and that child care providers and the child care system be considered totally essential and with all the right privileges that comes with that, including health benefits and everything else, you name it.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Crystal. Who would like to go next?
Hey, Deborah.
Go for it, Wendy.
Hey, my name is Wendy McConnell, and my answer was like Crystal's. I said that I am hopeful that childcare will be deemed an essential service. And like you said, they provided all of the benefits of being that essential service that they need.
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Who would like to go next? You can just unmute your, go ahead, Chelsea.
I'll go next. My name is Chelsea Galladay. I'm from the Charleston community, and I am hoping that not only will early childhood education and care providers be more valued after the pandemic, but also that social emotional learning will be a forefront along with other academic subjects. So.
Yes. That reminds me, I'm going to make myself a little note. There's an organization called SEL4SC, Social Emotional Learning for South Carolina, that's starting to do some really fantastic work in this area. So I will send that out as part of my follow-up, a link to their website and their Facebook page, so that you can keep up with them, because they're really awesome. Who wants to go next?
I can go. I'm finally unmuted. Hey, I'm Jessica. I was in Columbia, but now I'm back home in Charleston. What I hope that comes out of all of this is because, you know, my sisters are in the school system and they're teachers and things. So I really just want the kids to like get back into schools, because I've noticed that some of them have lacked the whole how to be people in their own way, like with their little friends and things, and like their education. Because I know personally, my nephew barely made it through to make it to high school. So I know some of these kids were struggling as well. So that's what I hope comes out of all of this.
Absolutely, so important. Who would like to share next?
I'll go. Hey, everybody. My name is Mia Gentry, and I'm the owner and director of Growing Minds Learning Center in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And after all this is over, I too feel the same way the first and second individual felt. I feel that maybe, you know, because of this whole pandemic, people will understand that early childhood professionals are very essential. And I'm hoping that maybe we get, like some of the teachers in the school system, that maybe state benefits and some other things that individuals who are working in the school system would become available to us. And I don't know what they would have to do to make that happen, but I believe that it would help our teachers. It would keep us from having so many turnovers if there were more benefits. I would also like to see additional training opportunities for our teachers and our early childhood professionals other than just teach. I would like for there to just be a few more resources out there that our people can access to help them further their education.
Awesome, thank you, Mia.
You're welcome.
Who's ready to go next? Go ahead, go for it, Carly, go.
Hi, I'm Carly Cotney. I'm from the Columbia area, and I guess one thing I would like to come out of this is more food access for children. I've noticed like some counties and some areas in South Carolina are, you know, busing food to neighborhoods and houses for children, and then others are not able to do that. So I'm hoping after this pandemic, maybe that will be on the table more for more areas. So,
yeah, that's really come to the forefront with what's been happening. Absolutely, thank you, Carly. Who wants to jump in and share next? Go ahead, Ken.
Hi.
We'll do Ken, and then we'll do Polly, and then it looked like maybe Sitlali was ready too. So I'll do Ken, Polly, Sitlali. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I'd like to,
Come closer, Ken, because we can't hear you too much.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, hold
Yes,
it close to your mouth. That's better.
Yeah. After I'm experiencing this pandemic, I realized that mental health is very important, since we are practicing social distancing for COVID prevention. At the same time, mental health is also important. So as one of my peers, one of my peer advocate highlighted, the children needs to go back to school. So and Ali and also the community, I hope that we'll have more effective support from the communities and families, and then lawmakers, their support for early childhood development and early childhood educators.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ken.
Okay.
And then we said Polly. Polly, jump in. Polly, I think you might be on mute, sweetie, or maybe you have your device turned off. We still can't hear you, hun. You want to try it again with headphones, maybe? Or were you calling in earlier, Polly? On your phone? Let's see, I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, try again. We still can't hear you, Polly. Maybe you want to join us by phone. Let's have Sitlali share and then see if we can figure yours out in the meantime. Go ahead, Sitlali. Whoops, you have to unmute yourself, sweetie. Let me help you. There you go. Where'd she go?
Oh,
there you are. Go ahead, Sitlali.
Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Sitlali Rojo. I live here in Colombia. Well, after the pandemic, I would like to see more funding for early childhood learning, obviously, and for daycares, because I know daycares are really underfunded, and many parents struggle to pay their daycares.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sitlali. Go ahead, Annie. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Annie Walsh. I'm a community engagement specialist for State Children, South Carolina. Then we have a lot of background noise. Some people need to mute, but anyway, the young lady that just got through talking, that was one of the things that I was gonna say, more funding, I would like to see a pay increase for the people who work in daycares and early childhood, because I believe that's one of the most turnover fields because of the pay. Also, I would love to see, I was trying to do a whole lot of stuff. Someone mentioned about the food disparities in certain communities. Not only the food disparities, when we talk about, and I don't mean to bring this up, but I kind of do mean the racial injustice in the communities, in different areas. I would like, when this pandemic is over, that an assessment comes and we can have equality all across the board, you know, not just in certain pockets that certain people get certain things. That is one of the biggest things that if we look at, because these are our future.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's so powerful, and that has really come to light. Thank you for mentioning that, Annie. Absolutely. I see several other people who haven't had a chance to share yet. Doris, Shamika, Melissa, who wants to jump in? Shamika, go for it.
Yeah, I didn't know. I typed it in the chat.
Oh, well, but, use your voice, honey. Use it. Go for it.
Okay, but I noticed that. Oh, let me introduce Shamika Wright from Columbia. But I noticed that a lot of parents have really been crying out because they don't know how to help their children. Children are out of school, and they know that their children were dealing with the study packets and stuff, and they didn't know how to help them, to assist them, and they didn't have no help. So I was hoping, like, during this time or after this, that the parents really band together and become, more unified, and find the resources that are out there for them to better help themselves so that they can be more of a help to their children.
Absolutely, Shamika. Thank you so much. I made a note of that. Who's ready to go next? Doris, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I don't have my video on. I came in late. And basically, I want to piggyback off what, I forgot what the sister said, speaking about pay. the increase in pay, you know, it bothers me so much that you have childcare workers out there and they are struggling to make ends meet. And you know, and they're overcrowded in their classrooms. I don't care what anyone says. Some of these childcare centers, they maximize these classes and they don't give the assistance to the teachers. And so with that and not enough pay, I really think we need to really kind of legislate for more, increased pay for childcare workers, not just because, oh, you have a degree, period, and also to support, more support. I think there's a lack of support when it comes to the childcare industry. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, when you look at the kinds of support staff that are almost always present at an elementary school versus the kind of support staff that's available at 95% of childcare centers, it's so different, such a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for bringing that up, Doris. So Dina put in the chat box, for those of you who might not have noticed, she says, I second what everyone has said. I'm having problems with my audio. This is Dina from Charleston. So thank you for that input, Dina. Let's see who else would like to share. Maybe Ridge. Ridge, go ahead, honey.
Yeah, I can go ahead. So I'm Ridge Welch from Charleston. And I would, agree with a lot of what everyone said. I'm glad Miss Annie mentioned racial justice as well, because I think, with the pandemic and then also to what's gone on after George Floyd's death, we've really been able to see like a lot of problems in our systems that are systematic. So I hope we see change, in our healthcare system, in our criminal justice system, but our education system as well, as everyone said. And I think really the pandemic and, everything else that's going on is really kind of allowing us to think about things a little bit more systematically than we really have in the last little bit.
Absolutely, and that systemic racism starts in childcare and preschool. The amount of research about that is really staggering, and that's something that SCAN has committed to focusing more on and providing more training to both staff and volunteers. So we will continue to advocate for that so that we can provide more training to all of you, which will make us better voices when we're advocating to legislators. Angie, do you want to take yourself off mute and say something?
I've been listening to everything that everyone's saying, and I completely agree with it. Unfortunately, I'm coming from it, and that's why I haven't chimed in before now, but from sort of a Debbie Downer position, which is not what we want to do. But given the fact that student funding, at least in South Carolina for the last 10 years, has not been met, and that teacher pay, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on. Childcare workers have never been paid what they're worth. They've never been paid what they're worth. And it would be great if people used this knowledge that they have gained from all that teachers and these childcare workers do to correct that. And that's what we have to keep pushing for in whatever way that we can. And I would encourage everyone, I've been noticing this more and more, not getting political, but just saying, vote. Because a lot of these, the local level is the foundation. And if we can build a good solid foundation at the local level, then our uphill battle has just gotten a little less uphill.
That is so true. I volunteered the day of our local runoff elections here in Columbia. So I volunteered at the polls June 9th, and I volunteered at the runoff election. And at the runoff election here in my precinct, only about 2,500 people voted of all the thousands of people who live in my precinct. And I think a lot of times the mentality is, oh, that was just a county council representative. Like, whatever. I don't even know what's the difference between those two guys. But like you're saying, Angie,
That's your local representation right
That's
there.
it.
Folks.
That's it. And that oftentimes, we're so focused on national politics, but it's these day in and day out decisions that sometimes affect us more than anything happening at the national level.
Absolutely.
And I will highlight this later, but I'm providing an online training Thursday evening in collaboration with a lady from an organization called 46 Votes about voter registration. It's primarily focused at our students because, of course, they know so many young people, but I will put the invitation out to everyone if you'd like to join that training this Thursday evening. Let's see, Lakeisha, do you want to take yourself off mute? I feel like she just went away. She was here a second ago. There she is. Lakeisha, do you want to take yourself off mute, introduce yourself, and say what positive change you're hoping to see for children?
Absolutely. I don't know if you all can still see me. This phone of mine is the worst right now. Turn it sideways and it flips and everything. Thank you again, Lakeisha Whitner. I am excited to see the opportunity for all children's voices to be heard equally, no matter what race, creed, color, social, academic background. Any of those things should not be a factor when it comes to the success of a child and them having access to all amenities, whether it be healthcare, dental, vision, medical, whatever that is, access to the internet, right, to Wi-Fi, which is one of those things that a lot of our young people are lacking in this day and age. So I'm hoping to see the change in that every child has access to the same amenities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lakeisha. Let's see, Cheryl, do you want to take yourself off mute? We haven't heard from you yet. I'm gonna, let's see. Okay, she might not be able to do that right at this moment. Let's see, Melissa, do you want to take yourself off mute and share with us?
Sure. Hi, I'm Melissa Miller. I'm in Charleston, and I am a public school kindergarten teacher. And I think one thing that will hopefully become positive out of this is, like Chelsea said, the increase in SEL resources, but also just the awareness that with all the distance learning and the virtual learning going on, the awareness that students living in poverty or students of color, ELL students, do not have the same access to all of the resources that public schools provide. And I think that the awareness is becoming more and more to everybody out there, and hopefully we can fix the situation going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melissa. Deetra Matthews, you want to take yourself off mute and share your hope?
Sure. So one word that comes to mind is allyship during these times, and how I hope we are able to reset and really embrace allyship. And when I say allyship, it's going to take us in our teacher lounges. It's going to take us around our family dinner tables. It's going to take us in all of our professional and personal circles to really highlight the need for childcare. I mean, if anything else has become so glaringly true, like when I came onto this call, I was literally talking about how I have had to manage, and I'm grateful to still be gainfully employed full-time right now, but how I have had to manage even my 14-year-old and my 11-year-old and keep them engaged during this time. It has been so much work. I mean, house manager, homeschool, I mean, just all of it. So what has become so glaringly true is that we do not operate in this country without childcare. We just just don't. The heartbeat of our nation, one of the greatest heartbeats of our nation, is childcare. And so I think it's really going to take allyship when we're talking with our husbands, when we're talking with our cousins, when we're talking with our colleagues in the teachers' lounge. Like, we really need to just remind people how we just, either it was challenging or it was just literally impossible to get by without childcare, period. It's really going to take us to be bold and courageous and to really push people to be allies. Like, not just say, oh, I really care about childcare. Like, you got to be in your circles talking about, like, and reminding people they cannot get by without quality childcare. And so I hate to be so passionate about it, but it has been a huge challenge for me. And my children are older, 14 and 11. And managing my full-time job since March and homeschooling and making sure that they are engaged during the summer and not always watching TV or with some type of just, device in their hands, like, it has almost been impossible. So without childcare, I mean, like I said, it is the heartbeat. It breathes into our nation. And so we just have to remind people to be allies.
I think this is unique, this experience, in that it has impacted all of us. Yes, it has impacted to a greater degree those who were already struggling with healthcare or income inequality or those kinds of things. But I've spoken to families, where both parents are attorneys and they're making six figures, and other families where it's a single mom who works in housekeeping at a hotel, and I'm hearing the exact same things. This is the first time I think that we've had that situation where we're all feeling the impact, regardless of socioeconomic status, regardless of these other life paths that we've chosen. So I agree with you that hopefully this will be something that will really bring us all together in that sense of allyship. Vanessa, go ahead. Itzel, you want to go ahead? Itzel, you want to introduce yourself and tell us the hope that you have for a change for children? Okay, I'm going to give her a second. And I also wanted to read from the chat box what Catherine said. Deetra, don't apologize for your passion. Absolutely, I second that, Catherine. Thank you very much. Don't ever apologize for your passion. Let's see, who would like to introduce themselves? Megan, you want to pull yourself off mute? Let's see if she's ready. We have go
Save
ahead.
the Children.
Hi, Cheryl.
Save the Children Network. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank y'all for coming.
Cheryl, you want to introduce yourself and tell us the hope you have for children coming out of this pandemic?
Oh, hi. My name is Cheryl Scales Chavez. I'm at Spartanburg Community College, and I have my students here. They're on live. They can see you on a huge screen. And my hope for children after this pandemic is that we will be moving into what I feel will be their new normal, but that their social, emotional well-being is intact.
So important. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining with your whole class. Welcome to Spartanburg Community College. We're pleased to have you on the call. That's fantastic. All right. Deidre Walker, did you want to take yourself off mute and share with us? Or maybe, I don't think we've heard from Ellen or Vicky. Hey. Go ahead, Deidre.
Deidre from Columbia, and everybody had really good points. And I just wanted to elaborate on what the last lady just said was the social emotional. I think a lot of times, especially when you're talking about early child development, we miss out on that key component. We can have all the education in the world, but if we're not able to manage mentally, these, our kids are struggling, and we're seeing that more and more, especially in our school. And I'm pretty sure in the daycares, and they're getting younger and younger, unable to manage self-control. And I have my grandchild, and it never became evident more than now. She's been visiting with me, and it's a lot. Like, and I have training, and these kids are struggling not just academically; they're struggling socially, emotionally, and now with a lot of people facing losses. We're going to need more training. Teachers are going to need more training across the board. Early childhood, definitely. Childcare workers. I didn't know the deficit was as serious as it was until now, but we definitely need to start putting more money early in the areas that matter. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. What you said, Deidre, about losses, I've been hearing in a lot of different spaces information about grief and how we process grief emotionally, and the fact that all of us right now are dealing with grief because of the multiple losses that we've experienced due to the pandemic. And that's going to be absolutely huge, like you're saying, Deidre, for early childhood professionals to support that grieving process for children. We haven't heard from Ellen or Heather. If either of you want to unmute. Heather, go ahead, my dear.
Hi, this is Heather Blackwell. I'm from Columbia. One thing that I would like to see change would be something that we've seen change during the pandemic that I hope doesn't go back to normal. And that is just people being able to kind of slow down a little bit and spend more time at home, spend more time with their families. Just little things like seeing chalk drawings all over different sidewalks and stuff. I've never seen so much chalk in my life. And just giving a little bit more confidence to parents of, you are enough, you're exactly what your child needs. I don't care if you have Mary Poppins and Sherry Lewis teaching in your child care center. They have to have that adult at home that, is competent and confident in what they're doing. And I think a lot of parents have been able to gain that now because they're not rushing around going to birthday parties and Frankie's Fun Park on the weekends. So that part, people are just reading to their kids more, all of that. I hope that really sticks around.
Absolutely, Heather. Thank you. Let's see. I'm just going to say the names of the people who we haven't heard from yet, and then please feel free to jump in and introduce yourself. If you're having trouble with technology or you're just not really feeling like it tonight, that's okay. But I don't think we've heard from Itzel, Vicky, Polly, Vanessa, Megan, or Ellen. Ellen, I see that you've unmuted yourself. You want to introduce yourself to us?
Yes. I'm Ellen Stringer, and I live in the Columbia area. And I am a grandmother as well as a mother. And one of my hopes, wishes, is built upon what we've already heard already, is I would love to see, if and when we come to the end of this, that we as mothers, as grandmothers, as caregivers, as educators, as citizens, that we continue to raise our voices, that we become active advocates, so that we, as someone was saying, appreciate that voting matters, that speaking truth to power matters, that raising our hands matter, and let power brokers, let educators, let politicians know that we are here, that we are better educated, and know better what the stakes are now. So many of us, including my daughter, as someone said earlier, they have turned into teachers. They have become teachers without the diplomas. But now is the time for them to use that newfound knowledge and the power it brings to make sure that they feel like they have the right and the responsibility to act and to make their voices heard. I am staying up at night trying to think of a wonderful acronym for it. look what Mothers Against Drunk Drivers did. Gracious, certainly we can do that.
Absolutely, Ellen. Thank you so much. Anybody else wanting to introduce themselves and say what their hope is? I know that Deanna just joined us.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Polly, please.
Okay. My name is Polly Gathings. I live in Lexington, South Carolina. And there are a couple things that just to piggyback on, I know one lady talked about just spending that quality time and really enjoying that quality time. I know my family has really enjoyed the downtime that we had or that we've had during this pandemic. It makes us, you know, grateful to be able to just relax and not be so rushed and busy. But also, my hope would be that no child is left behind, that children are given access to internet that don't have it, and different things of that nature, and that childcare is considered essential.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Polly. Anybody else before we move on? I want to read what Dina put in the chat box. She said, teachers will need help emotionally, and it may be difficult for them to support children if they don't get help. We've always known that childcare providers and teachers are a lot like nurses and other people in those support type of professions, where the burnout rate is really, really high, and self-care is sometimes difficult to fit in. But I think we are seeing that a lot already, and we're going to continue. The demand on early childhood professionals and K-12 teachers is going to be even greater coming back out of this as we look for ways to support children in their social emotional healing. Okay, you guys, I took notes. Can you see them? They're beautiful. I'm the only person on the planet probably who can read them, but I'm going to read them and send out some quotes back to you guys, because those were really powerful ideas, and I really appreciate you being willing to share. I want to share my screen now, so watch me get all technological on you. First thing I want to do was share this article that came out in the Washington Post today, I believe. Let's see if I can make that smaller. There we go. The big factor holding back the U.S. economic recovery, childcare. Nearly a third of the nation's workforce has children at home, and they're struggling. Researchers estimate nearly 10% of economic activity won't happen as long as schools and daycares remain closed. So I will include that article when I send out the summary of this meeting, but I just wanted you to see that everything you guys just said on our meeting is exactly what's being said at the national level, and not just from early childhood educators, but also from economists and politicians. They're really starting to understand how incredibly important this is. So I wanted everybody to see that. And then I wanted to get over here, just a second, please, friends. Okay, here is here's our agenda for tonight. I wanted to share with you, a lot of you were a part of our week of action about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. And then coming out of that, the Senate and the House are looking at all kinds of different legislation to support children here and internationally from the negative impacts of COVID-19. And coming out of all those meetings that we had, just recently we got a senator from North Carolina. One of our Columbia Community Action Team members actually lives up in Charlotte. So she was able to reach out to Senator Tillis's office. And then we had some volunteers here in South Carolina reach out to Congressman Joe Wilson's office and Congressman William Timmons' offices and ask them to sign on to bipartisan support letters for protecting vulnerable people around the world from the impacts of COVID-19. So I think what we're really starting to see is the strength of the relationships that we've been building in these offices, and that's made a huge impact when we come to these offices with specific asks and they're willing to turn around and take action. The next thing I want to do is share with you a video that was made by one of my colleagues about childcare in light of COVID-19. So let's see if we can get that to play. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play it. If you don't hear the sound, then somebody take themselves off mute and let me know, but I'm hoping the sound comes through.
I can't hear anything. It's very low.
Okay, let me try and make it better. Hang on. I'll try one more time, and if it doesn't work, I'll just send you guys the link, but let's try this one more time.
No sound.
Deborah, when you go to share your screen, it
Yes.
should be an option for you to share the video audio. You have to check it when you go to share your screen initially.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds like a really high-tech thing. Okay, let me try again. So I'm going to go to share screen and then share computer sound. Look at you, these beautiful people under 40 who know all of this. Okay, cool. Let's try again. I'm going to start Sarah over again, and here we go.
Hi, I'm Sarah Petchka, and I'm with Save the Children Action Network.
Perfect.
Today I want to talk about something that's actually really simple in the midst of a lot of confusion and challenging times, and that's the need to invest in childcare. Now, you might be thinking, okay, with everything going on, childcare, really? And I'm here to tell you yes. Even if you aren't a parent or a provider, or you know a parent or provider, childcare affects our economy in a big way, and it probably affects your day-to-day life. Right now, the childcare industry contributes approximately $100 billion to our economy, and it's allowing our essential workers to do just that, work. If they didn't know that they had a safe place that their children could go during the day, they might not be able to provide the essential services that we so badly need right now. Which is why I'm going to take a second to pause and ask that you please visit SaveTheChildrenActionNetwork.org and learn how you can ask your members of Congress to support the Child Care is Essential Act. Welcome back. I want to take a second to talk about why childcare is so important and why we need early learning. A lot of it boils down to the fact that a child's brain is mostly developed by the time they turn 5. And research shows that investments in quality early learning, such as quality pre-K, home visiting, and of course, childcare, is one of the most effective ways to end the cycle of poverty. It also shows that children who are enrolled in these programs are 20% more likely to graduate high school, and they earn, on average, a 50% higher income down the road. 2 out of 5 children in the US do not have access to high quality learning, and that was before the coronavirus. As I'm sure you can guess, the COVID-19 crisis has had a real impact on the childcare industry. Those who have had to close have had to do so because of low enrollment rates. They couldn't pay their staff, they couldn't pay their fixed costs, they didn't have access or couldn't find cleaning supplies, and so they've had to shut their doors, and for some this will be permanent. Those who are open or who are considering reopening are facing so many stressors, from again reduced enrollment rates to how do they keep their staff safe. If it's an in-home provider, how do they keep their home safe, their family safe? And where do they find cleaning supplies? And I think the biggest one personally is they have to figure out how to keep children at a social distance. They have to figure out how to keep toddlers, kids, babies away from each other, which just is a Herculean task. But in all seriousness, a lot of these changes are really overwhelming to the already overworked providers, and it could result in the whole industry being financially unsound. And that will have a huge ripple impact for families across the US. It will especially impact those who live in rural areas or those who live in low-income areas because they already struggle to find high-quality education, early childhood education for their children. With all of these closures, they might not have any readily available or available at all. It will also disproportionately affect families of color. You see, right now, the childcare industry employs approximately 1.5 million people, and 40% or more of those people are women of color. We need to support childcare. We need to make sure that it stays afloat. So, if I've scared you into taking action, as I hope I have, then now what? What do we do about it? There is some good news. Recently, Congress passed the CARES Act stimulus package, which provided $3.5 billion to assist the child care industry. And the other good news is that there are a lot of people who agree with you and me on this issue. A recent poll from Save the Children Action Network and Child Care Aware found that a whopping 87% of Americans, which includes 82% of Republicans and 94% of Democrats, are in support of government financial assistance to child care providers. All we have to do is act. And to do so, we need to let our members of Congress know that we support the Child Care is Essential Act. Now, in short, this act will create $50 billion funds within the existing Child Care Development Block Grant. So what is this? These grants would ensure that providers can pay for fixed costs, and it would also help them get cleaning supplies, get safety equipment, make sure that they can keep their doors open for American families. Look, I know that there's a lot going on right now, but if you take a moment, and it will just take a few minutes, to visit SaveTheChildrenActionNetwork.org, fill out your information and send a message to your members of Congress, it will make a huge difference. It will let them know that this issue matters to us. Another way to do that is by calling your members of Congress. This is a really effective way to say, I, your constituent, care about this issue and I want you to vote on it. Additionally, you can help by spreading the word. The word of mouth is so important, and if we let our friends and family know that this issue is happening, it's happening now, we need to take action now, we can get more voices to our members of Congress and encourage them to act. So, where it have landed, we need childcare. We know that. It's important for our economy, it's important for so many families, and we need to make sure that our members of Congress hear us. Please take action today. Please call your members of Congress today. And in spite of everything that's going on, I think we can make a big difference for kids.
Okay, awesome. Now let me get out of here. So that was the amazing and fabulous Sarah Pechka. I thought she did a wonderful job on that video. I will send you the link to that, or it might already be on the agenda that I sent you. But on that, and I'm going to share my screen one more time so I can show you the actions that we can take. Sure I am. How do I get out of here? Aha, there it is. Okay. So we watched the video, and then I will send you in my follow-up email the information so that you can call your senators and ask them to co-sponsor the piece of legislation that Sarah was talking about, the Child Care is Essential Act. And then also I will send you the link so that you can write emails to your members of Congress asking them to co-sponsor the Child Care is Essential Act. So if we all do that this week, like tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, all of a sudden in the space of 3 days, they get 30 phone calls. Believe me, that makes an impact. And they're already hearing about it from so many different organizations. And another thing, kind of reflecting on what Deetra was saying about the idea of allyship, early childhood education is now hearing from groups that we've never heard from before. So big business leaders are talking about the importance of early childhood and child care, early childhood education in a way that they've never spoken about it before. So we're not only is it groups that that our congressional delegation has heard from over and over, groups like us, groups like NAEYC, but it's other groups like the Chamber of Commerce and business groups that are reaching out to congressional reps and telling them, you know, this is something that we absolutely need to prioritize. So I will send those resources in my follow-up email to all of you. And I'm asking that when you do take that 2 or 3 minutes to make the calls and or send the emails, that you just let me know, because I'd like to come up with a tab of how many messages we get into our South Carolina delegates this week. I would love for us to get 30, you know, to each of our different senators, and then you know, to our congressional representatives. In the email that I will send you, I believe it has a website that gives you the contact information for your congressional rep and your senators. I know that sometimes it can be confusing as far as who your congressional rep is, just because the lines are really, really kind of wonky. So that should help out with that. Let's see, what time is it getting to be? Let me share with you the 2 upcoming opportunities, and then I can take a few questions. Come on now. Okay, I'm gonna go back and share with you. At the bottom of your agenda, it says that this Thursday is that voter registration training. So I will send that link out to you if you'd like to learn more about the ins and outs of registering other people to vote in South Carolina. That should be really valuable. And then next Monday, we're having a national training on how to advocate for the safety and well-being of children at our border. So I'll include that invitation as well. Does anybody have any comments or questions during these last few minutes?
Hey, Deborah, I'm
Yes,
sorry. I know I'm not on video anymore, but I remember when I thought that was a great exercise with everyone introduced and seeing what they're learning during this time period. But someone talked about how we need to hold our elected officials accountable, and you know that's really personally that's how I became involved in this space and getting involved with Save the Children Action Network. But I really hope. I really want to echo that particular person or people who said, like, we really got to hold our elected officials accountable. Like, if anything else, we need to encourage people to become more advocates. Like, I like I said before, and I'm sorry, I know I keep apologizing for being so passionate about this, but if this pandemic has not clearly made it more glaring that childcare is essential. It is, I keep saying, the heartbeat of our nation, but we have got to literally hold our elected officials accountable. These elected officials they're changing more diapers than they've ever had. They are reading more books than they ever thought that they would to their children. Like, and we got to make them remember this time. We got to make them remember this time. And so I'm sorry I don't want to suffocate the conversation, but if anything needs to come out of this, we need to birth more advocates. We need to empower more people to use their voices, however it presents itself, and how authentically it presents itself. Authentic presentation is always the best. And just really hold our elected officials accountable. I'm sorry, and that's my last time talking.
We love to hear you share your heart, Deetra. Thank you. As far as the getting people involved as advocates, I agree completely. And I know that people have seen more advocacy and more activism on television over the last 2 months than they had for years and years, for very good reasons. The Black Lives Matter protests and marches and things like that have really, put it right in front of people. And, some people may or may not have been able to participate in those things for different reasons, but I think a lot of people were made to think about it for the first time, and maybe heard their nephew or their neighbor or their cousin say, oh my gosh, I went to a rally, I went to a march, I went to a protest, and starting to feel that I don't know if it's maybe a combination of desperation and excitement, certainly around the Black Lives Matter movement. But I think even with our issues, where they overlap with Black Lives Matter as far as racial justice in the early childhood space, but also our general advocacy for all children, people are starting to think about themselves more as advocates. And those of you, Vanessa, Sitlali, Itzel, and my other college advocates who are on the call, my daughter's always bringing me her phone and showing me these things on TikTok that your generation is organizing. Like, dang, okay then, watch this, 14 to 25-year-old group of people take over the world. So I think now is a wonderful time to get other people involved as advocates. If you have a colleague, a family member, a neighbor, a friend who would like to learn more about SCAN, this is a great opportunity. When I send you this follow-up email, send it to them and say, wow, I was on this call last night and learned even more about the importance of early childhood care and education in our country. I wanted to share this with you. Maybe they'd like to watch Sarah's email. Maybe they'd like to read the article from the Washington Post, some of these different opportunities. I think that now really is a time to give others the tools. People are feeling the passion and the excitement, so then we come along with the tools and the focus.
Hey,
and they know what to do. A lot of times I think people have a good heart and they want to get involved, but when you just sit and watch the news, you kind of come away from it feeling completely overwhelmed and maybe depressed, kind of apathetic, because it just feels too big. When people are given a chance, look, here's something that can help. There's this piece of legislation. It's called the Child Care is Essential Act. Here's why it's important. I called my senators yesterday. I would love for you to join me on this. Are you interested? Can I help you with that? And if anyone is interested in setting up like a 3-way call with me and you and one of your colleagues or family members to help them understand a little bit more about what SCAN does, I would absolutely love to help out with that. I think there are some things in the chat box. Let me read those comments. So Carly says, you are so inspiring tonight, Deetra. Absolutely. And look, Deetra says, aw, thank you, Carly. I just want to make a plug. I know we have at least one gentleman on the call with us, so this is in no means excluding our gentlemen advocates. But as women, let us stop apologizing for using our voices. I was listening on the radio the other day to, they were interviewing a writer and comedian, and she was saying that as women, we've been taught to apologize for everything we do and everything we say. So she took all of these famous, sayings and then rewrote them the way a woman would have to say them in a boardroom to not come across as pushy. So the whole like, give me liberty or give me death, the way she rewrote it was like, Tyler, I don't mean to interrupt, and I am so sorry if this is not the space to share this. And, today might not really be the day to bring this up, but if you don't mind, I just wanted to share an idea about, liberty, freedom. I mean, just, some of the things that have been on my mind and thinking that maybe at this point, looking at the choices between liberty, death, it's just something we could think about. And it struck me as so funny, but so powerful, because so often as women, we do that, where we start our comment by saying, well, you've probably already answered this question, or I'm sorry to take away the time during this meeting. Stop that, stop that. Let us be bold in our advocacy, because we have such an important message to share. And like Deetra was saying, this is the first time that some of our lawmakers, especially some of our older ones, have probably been hearing from their own family members about the difficulty of this childcare situation. So they're more aware of it than they ever have been. Now's the time to give them the action that we want them to take, which is to co-sponsor this piece of legislation. Okay,
Deborah?
darling. Yes, ma'am, please.
I just wanted to add one thing. I'm not sure whether or not Miss Scale Chavis is still on, and if her students are not still listening, but I just wanted to say that this is so wonderful, especially for the up and coming or the rising early child educators, because they now get an opportunity to realize how valuable they really are. I hear a lot of people who are coming into childcare or who are students getting their degrees who feel as though, you know, what they do is not really making an impact. But I want them to understand that, you know, what we do is a foundation. It's the foundation to our community. It's the foundation to our society, and it is the foundation of our economy. And once they realize that what they do is so much bigger, and I'm not downplaying working for Starbucks. I know they pay $12 an hour. I know that some of the other jobs may pay a lot more than what you could get paid in the early childhood profession. But the lasting imprint that you're going to leave is forever. You can give a cup of coffee, but you're changing a life when you work in early childhood education.
That is absolutely right. Thank you so much, Mia. And coming out of this, our hope is to see that there will be more value placed on those educators, not just with our heartfelt wishes, but with our financial resources. For those of you who may not have access to the chat box, I'm going to read these comments and then we'll wrap it up because we're a few minutes over. Doris says, we've got to encourage the parents to become advocates. Absolutely. So those of you who work directly in the field, parents have the most passionate need for early childhood education, and giving them a voice and giving them tools is one of the best things we could be doing. Absolutely, Doris. And I'm all about providing those kinds of resources, organizing virtual parent workshops, anything that would be helpful with that. Chelsea says, yes, Deborah, you're so right. We all need to have more conversations like this. This is another issue surrounding why childcare and education is underfunded and underappreciated. These fields are historically women-dominated fields. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes I think people expect that there will always be a second income in the household, and so it's okay if teachers and childcare providers are being paid low, but that's not an assumption that we can make anymore. Absolutely. All right, dear friends. Well, it has been wonderful meeting with all of you. I hope you're all going away feeling a little bit more encouraged. If nothing else, it's just so cool to see that there are another 30 people in South Carolina who feel passionately the way that you do. I think it can really be an encouragement. Shamika has a comment. Let's see. Were you able to come off mute, Shamika?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I just want to ask a question. If anyone could help. I'm working with a childcare center. I'm helping them. They don't have a food program for their center, and I've been writing donation letters trying to get donations for them to get food so they can feed the children. And I've been working with them, try to get material, help with lesson plans, and get proper like manipulatives and other educational things like that for the classrooms, and like books and all that, those kinds of things. And I want to know if anybody could give some suggestions on what else I can do to help with those things.
Shamika, Doris might be a really good resource for you because she has worked in early childhood for years and years and knows a lot. I know about the food program from the child care center where she's worked for years. Doris, I don't know if you want to add something.
Sure. You can get my email. Can you give my email?
Sure. I will send an introductory email to the two of you, Shamika and Doris, to help out.
Yeah, do that and contact me and email me right now. Like, time you get it, email me, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Shamika, I don't know where you are. I can't remember what you said, but you should have a First Steps office near you. And that's what we do. And when you ask about, and you're saying you're helping this childcare do all of this center was not open prior to COVID? Is this a brand new center? Because my antenna's going up and I'm a little concerned that they haven't had what they needed prior to COVID. So I'd like to
I
know
know
more.
that they are fairly new and they were getting things in order, but I know one of the things that have not come through yet for them is, I guess, the food program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because things got kind of stymied a little bit with the COVID. But my concern too would be that you're having to help with lesson plans, you're having to find material and that kind of stuff, and that bothers me. See, that's part of what ends up happening with childcare and why people don't take it seriously. Because when that door opened, they should have had at least the minimum of what they would need in order to be successful. And it's not a fly-by-night. These are children. These are children's lives we're talking about, and they should not have even opened up. Now, this is the world according to Crystal, and I've been doing this a mighty long time. I'm retired, and I do it because I love it. I don't do it because I gotta get up in the morning because I could go sit on my porch, drink my lemonade, and be happy till Father calls me home. But that bothers me, Miss Shamika, and I would love to help you, and I will help you because I don't want any child care facility not having what they need for our children, all of our children.
Okay, so I'm going to add Crystal to that email, and I know that Crystal can point you in a good direction, Shamika, to the Richland County First Steps resources.
Yeah, that's Marsha Bacon. And we can make sure you get those connections and see what we can do to help, because that's what we do. Okay?
That's exactly right.
And the other thing that I put in the comment, but I didn't realize that it didn't go to everybody. I remember someone mentioned earlier about helping children with food, and I just want to note that if you know anybody that needs help with food, we at my church we distribute food packages every third Saturday of the month. It's open to anyone from any area. All you need is a ID, and I will give the information to Miss Deborah.
Yes, and I will include that in the follow-up email that I send out tomorrow morning. Thank you, Shamika. And it's really nice food. It's fresh fruits and vegetables, top quality. So, and they don't require any kind of paperwork or application or anything. Just pull up and they give you a free box of food. Friends, we have.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Angie.
Would it be okay if we shared that information on social media as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I did
Okay,
that
great.
I did that last time, Angie, and definitely that was. I mean, I think there were
I
several.
remember
families.
seeing something. Okay, that was it.
That was it,
All
my
right.
friend. Yes, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, darling people, it's 8:09. We're supposed to end at 8 o'clock. And I know that people have children to put to bed and glasses of wine to drink and things like that. So thank you so much to all of you for being on the call. Take this passion. When you get that email tomorrow morning, carve out 10 minutes in your day tomorrow to do the kinds of actions that Sarah was talking about on the video, and then share. Use all your social media platforms. Talk to anyone that you're interacting with, and get them to use their voices as well. If there's anything you need from me, resources of any kind, I am more than happy to provide those. All right, darling people, I love you all. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.